When you think of comic books, what comes to mind? For some, it's famous names like Spider-Man and Superman. Well, women comic writers and artists all had something to help make these superheroes come to life on the page, and even making comic book history.
So she's the artist for Monstrous. This is one of her work.
Well, the Batgirl series was pretty good, and the girl who did it when it first came out, well, actually she jumped in the middle, her name was Barbara, and if you think about it.
A lot of female comic book writers started underground, building a small group of artists that supported LGBT and feminist rights. Their politics were allowed to be up front and center, unlike mainstream comics. One noted name of underground comics were titled Women's Comic, which is its first story was about a teenage abortion. Wouldn't find that in a Superman comic nowadays. Recently, in 2013, this comic series has come back into light and now is shown at the San Francisco Library to inspire many.
So much wide variety that we can, and females are creative too. So I mean, we have a spot for you.
For me, I never look at who the artist or writer are. I've never been a big follower. I know there are some people that will, it's this artist, and as long as this artist is doing a cover or even the inside of a comic, they will follow that artist, even if it jumps from, let's say, Superman.
Early days of comic book history, comics were targeted for boys and men, and the ones about romance and fashion intended for girls. Women wanted strong female characters that weren't scandalously dressed women whose only job was to cheer on the hero of the story. In the late 60s, the underground comic scene started so women writers and artists could have their moment in the spotlight. Their political opinions could be upfront, and their views on movements that weren't upfront to public eye.
To be ashamed of that, I mean, all throughout the years of comic books, I mean, from Vampirella, from Wonder Woman, they've always been sex symbol, so there's no shame about it.
They were sex symbols all the way back to, Betty Boop cartoons back in the early 1900s. Heck, you could even go back to hieroglyphics on the walls of the Egyptians, I think in what I guess is a male predominantly controlled world for centuries, you couldn't get past it. The men are visual, and that kind of went hand in hand to that, and I think that's a good thing.
The turning point of female comic books written by female comic book writers and artists was when women weren't seen as sex symbols and wasn't the damsel in distress.
I mean, especially for the newer generation to become an inspiration to start picking up and supporting other females' work. Anything female related.
Stores here, and it was mostly men. Every once in a while a girl would come in, but it was very, very rare. Now when I opened up the store 6 years ago, I'd have to say that probably 1 out of 5 of my customers were women, which was new to me. I'd never seen that before, but I think with the movies and the TV series, things like that, you had a wider range of individuals that were getting hit by these characters. And so the natural features was comic books. And now, I'd have to say this, getting almost 2 out of 5 of my customers are women, which is, well, I do know, like the mainstream, we have strong characters. Harley was probably my biggest seller for a long time.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, near the top of the list. Supergirl, near the top of the list. And after CW published, or not published, or producing, so, yeah.